Will you drink to the earth and to the days which have passed upon it? Will you drink to the fullness which was, and to friends who have passed on? Will you drink to good company well met?
Wow, in recent history, we haven't seen this kind of uniting, well, at least since the Freedom Convoy. Of course, the news media didn't want you to know about the fact that people were coming together like this, and they obviously don't want people to know about people coming together like this in this case as well. During the protest, kids from Muslim families fed up with gender indoctrination in the classroom stomped on pride flags, gathering cheers from the crowds. There's lots of footage. We're going to get to that. Many of the Muslim in the crowds got into it with the far left counter protesters chanting, "Leave the kids alone." Members of the faith have joined their Christian counterparts in the fight against modern gender ideology as of late. And in fact, that has confused many progressives. It's really caused an issue with a lot of the progressives who have claimed that they stand with the Muslims on a lot of issues. And well, that this is where there's a collision here. Especially in Canadian elementary schools. And it's another article from the Post Millennial saying they're forcing children to celebrate Pride and watch drag shows. And this is an actual thing that's happening across Canada and the United States at the moment. This was one of my favorite lines from this article. Is this an ad for homeschooling? One user asked. But yeah, this is the case. This is what's happening. Some of this is becoming mandatory for students. This coming from Get Woke Up, exposing Pride madness. They've changed their title for the month. Student worship of Pride is not optional in the Great Gay North, says this article. Schools across the woke dystopian socialist nation of Canada forced indoctrinate children with Pride Propaganda Month. This is actually becoming a compulsory thing in the schools here in Canada in certain provinces. At the outset of the so-called Pride Month, Ottawa Carleton District School Board teachers received a hostile letter reminding them that the acronym people representation in classroom is a fundamental human right protected by law, and that they have to show up. They have to show up for this. In fact, a student recorded a teacher reprimanding the student for not wanting to be there, a Muslim student. And the teacher went on to, well, I'll just let her speak her own words here.
Well, I'll tell you, you are out to lunch. If you think it's acceptable to not show up because you think there's some pride activities going on at school, right? Oh, that's fine. You know, because I'm going to show my opinion by hanging out at the mall. But meanwhile, all those kids who are, you know, involved in, say, the Gay Straight Alliance or whatever, I don't even know if we have that anymore in our school, they're here when we did Ramadan for Lion Time. And they're showing respect in the class for your religion, right? For your beliefs. It goes two ways. If you want to be respected for who you are, if you don't want to suffer prejudice for your religion, your color of skin, your whatever, then you better give it back to people who are different from you. That's how it works. It's an exchange. And it isn't like that in all countries. As I told you, in Uganda, literally, if they think you're gay, they will execute you. If you believe that kind of thing, then you don't belong here. Because that is not what Canada believes. We believe in freedom. We believe that people can marry whomever they want. That is in the law. And if you don't think that should be the law, you can't be Canadian. You don't.
Wow. Okay. So that's a little bordering on racist there. Many, this might be a shocker to some liberals out there, but not all Muslims are foreigners. that's a thing that maybe some people need to establish in their understanding of how things work here in Canada. But hey, this is the opinion of this teacher saying that if you don't believe in the gay stuff, you can't be Canadian. That kind of goes against the whole freedom of association thought in freedom. Nonetheless, in New Brunswick, apparently they're passing new legislation to say that no, teachers are not allowed to keep things away from their the parents of the students. And while on TikTok, this student teacher has a freak out. Woke teacher in training has a meltdown at the prospect of not being able to hide if a child under 16 is transitioning to another gender from their parents in New Brunswick. Tell me this isn't a cult.
So, Wayne Higgs and Bill Hogan did it. Children under the age of 16 in New Brunswick are going to be outed to their parents if they choose to change their pronouns in school. It fucking happened and it went through. It's coming into effect July 1st. I'm currently working my way to become a teacher. I only have 2 years left of school, and I'm in New Brunswick. I don't know what to do right now. I don't know if I want to leave this province and go teach somewhere else, because I can't out students. That's not something that I'm willing to do. That's not something I ever pictured being a part of this job. I'm not harming students in my own community.
Talking to parents about what's happening in their students' lives is not harming students. Actually, separating them from their parents, I would say, would be harmful. That is definitely abusive behavior on the part of this woman here. Now, there's much footage out there now from these from the protest. Some of the stuff out there is just craziness. Karima Saad posting this out there. Generally speaking, from a high level perspective, the solution to polarization is understanding and dialogue. But how to converse meaningful when ignorance and hyperbole abound. And this is footage of people trying to shout at each other, and one woman is literally shaking as this exchange is taking place. There's two sides just shouting at each other, not actually even communicating. I'm not sure what the where this lands you, but yeah, they're just shouting at each other here.
Why are they so important in the schools? Why are the school boards
Literally shaking. It's just I'm not sure what this does for us, but these are people out there spreading their point of view in a way of protesting. Here are more people spreading their point of view, and I put together this little short. I'm just gonna play this one so you guys can see what was happening at this protest here. Protesters show up in Ottawa just to clarify who are the crazy conspiracy theorists.
They're not going to stop just at schools. These people are a movement. They are allied with white supremacists, anti-Semites. Some people that are coming have swastikas tattooed on their bodies. This is far beyond a transphobic protest. It's a massive fascist movement. Billboard Chris is going to be speaking soon in the States with Marco Rubio and Donald Trump for what I think is being possibly considered a domestic terrorist organization called Moms for Liberty. Like, this is an international thing where people are being flown in from Florida, BC, the East Coast of Canada. And so we have to start treating it like for what it is.
Parents concerned about what's being taught to their kids in school. Yes, that would be what it is.
Douglas Murray argue that Pride Month is no longer about tolerance and acceptance, but about pushing a minority lifestyle onto the majority, with potentially disastrous consequences. The once innocent street party has now become increasingly politicized, with the goal of changing the very fabric of society.
It's definitely been a shift where this is no longer about acceptance and equality. It's become a political movement, and that's how people see it. They see the they see the rainbow or the trans flag as a political symbol, and that's where the objection comes in. It's not against people's lifestyles, it's against being compelled to declare your pronouns, or you're a bigot.
And then Joe Biden made Pride Month political by inviting members of the queer community to a party at the White House. The gay flag was hung proudly in between the American flags, whilst gay, lesbian and trans people, as well as children and families, enjoyed the festivities on the grounds. Joe Biden has been very vocal about his support for the gay and trans community this year, drawing criticism from conservative commentators who accuse him of being a bandwagon supporter.
There's so much absurdity in this. Firstly, I mean, goodness knows what's going through Joe Biden's head, but probably he's doing something like what he thinks of as being making up for lost time. Joe Biden was never very good on gay rights at all. He was never in favor of gay marriage, for instance, until everybody else was, and it was a fait accompli. Perhaps he now thinks that he can sort of cover that over and go heavy on the trans stuff, which, as I always say, has nothing to do with being gay. It's a totally different issue, and one that is deranging everyone. I loathe this whole alphabet soup, or as Julie Bindel describes it, the unbreakable Wi-Fi code that LGBTQIA+ has become. And there's so much that's appalling about this, but just to focus on two things. First of all, Joe Biden describes the attendees there as being some of the bravest people he's ever met. Joe Biden will have met an awful lot of veterans in his life. He will have met an awful lot of policemen who've been shot in the line of duty, firemen and firefighters who've run into burning buildings. Sorry, but having a double mastectomy because you want to look like a man and or getting fake breasts put on is not the bravest thing I've ever seen. I think it's totally deranged as it happens. But so that's just flat out mad to say that the people there were the bravest people among the bravest people he'd ever met. But the main thing is that what people like Biden don't seem to realize is that they are undoing the progress that has been achieved in gay rights. The gay rights movement got success like other civil rights movements by saying we're just like everybody else. You know, it wasn't we're a totally different species of weird show-offs who want to flash our private parts at the White House given a chance. You know, so and it's been endlessly the case with the people who jumped onto this bandwagon last. They are making gay people look like freak shows. And that's because the people they keep highlighting are total freak shows. I wish that they spent any time just recognizing that gay people in particular, just like everyone else, and if trans people want to be just like everyone else, they can. But one thing not to do is to be invited to the White House and get your jugs out.
Wowie, yes. And it went on and on. Trust me, we haven't shown you the worst of it. Kosher, reportedly kids in that crowd. I mean, really, it's 2023. We live in the West. Do we need to be celebrating anyone's sexual orientation anymore? I mean, it seems like it's almost pushing the envelope to a point where very reasonable live and let live people are going to start objecting.
It's that issue again that they're conflating acceptance and equality with sexualization and fetishization, even one could say, of all sorts of things on the spectrum of sexual behavior out in the open, in the middle of the day where potentially children are there. And that's, I think, what people are objecting to. It's being wrapped up again and being about a battle that's kind of won. They've won that. It's not a thing anymore to be against.
Well, we don't see the local strippers from Bar 20 parading down the street, you know, the sort of celebrating their lifestyle choices. I don't know why we need to be doing this either.
What does this all mean for the LGBTQIA+ community? Sky News contributor Douglas Murray says forcing a lifestyle on people will backfire as it creates resentment within the silent majority.
It's just too much. You know, it's too much to see every corporation changing its logos to a rainbow. It's too much to see the American Armed Forces that in recent memory didn't allow gays to serve in the military, now going all rainbow colored. You know, it's just too much. I think it's not going to improve people's views of gay people. It actually is going to worsen them because there's going to be such building resentment at just the overdoing of it all.